Imagine grading a goldfish on its tree climbing skills. Darwin would be spinning in his grave faster than a hamster on a wheel. You've probably heard the zinger, everyone is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. Sounds wise, right? So wise, in fact, that Einstein's name gets slapped on it like a bumper sticker. Meanwhile, the real Einstein is probably rolling his eyes somewhere in theoretical physics heaven, like a bad date promising, "I'll call you later." There's zero proof he ever said it. Quoting geniuses is basically Mensa's version of the telephone game. Good luck keeping it straight. Yet educators and motivational meme lords have clung to this fishy fable like it's the holy grail of wisdom. Because here's the thing. Everyone's wired differently. Sizing them up with the same yardstick is just plain ridiculous. Standardized tests. Sometimes they do exactly that, treating students like fish at an arborist convention. Real education reform means recognizing unique talents, not stubbornly trying to turn goldfish into oak climbers. So even if Einstein didn't say it, the fish would definitely give a thumbs up, because the message still makes a big splash. While Einstein used metaphor to challenge notions of ability, Newton's legendary apple story captures a moment of scientific insight. Picture a young Isaac Newton, minding his own business, when wham! A rogue apple drops from a tree and catapults him into scientific stardom. Classic story, right? Newton, bonked by fruit, has a eureka moment and invents gravity while rubbing his noggin. Suspicious? You bet. This apple-polished tale is more pie in the sky than fact. Sure, Newton did ponder falling apples, but it was his brain doing the heavy lifting, not his skull taking the hit. If groundbreaking genius required head trauma, we'd all be Einsteins after recess. In truth, Newton's gravitational genius simmered quietly over years, demanding calculus, not concussions. He never wrote about an apple socking him. That tasty detail was likely cooked up later by someone with a flair for fruity drama. So yes, Newton dodged more tall tales than apples during his lifetime. But let's be honest, stories with a side of slapstick always make the food for thought go down a little sweeter. Just as Newton's tale symbolizes a breakthrough in understanding gravity, Darwin's phrase, "survival of the fittest," summarizes natural selection. Think survival of the fittest is Darwin's brainchild? Think again. Darwin wasn't above borrowing a catchy line or two, especially if he could stuff it with footnotes. That slick phrase is usually pinned on Darwin's lapel, as if he sported it at every Victorian soiree. But credit actually goes to Herbert Spencer, Victorian philosopher, economist, and all-around lover of grandiloquent catchphrases. Spencer coined survival of the fittest in 1864, while Darwin was still brooding over the less flashy but sturdier natural selection. Under pressure from persistent critics, Darwin eventually slipped Spencer's phrase into later editions of On the Origin of Species, partly to seem trendy and partly to hush the complaints. The slogan's sizzle proved irresistible, but also stirred confusion. Suddenly, evolution sounded like a bodybuilding contest. In truth, fittest usually means best at blending in. Think sly bacteria, not gym champ muscleheads. After all, evolution's real motto might as well be, just try not to get eaten. Darwin's ideas revolutionized biology, much like Tesla's alleged invention of the light bulb is often credited with revolutionizing technology. Was it Tesla who truly lit up our world, or just our imaginations? Ask around, and you'll hear plenty who swear Nikola Tesla invented the light bulb, perhaps because he had a knack for lightning, dazzling us with showmanship delivering shocking wattage. This myth sticks like static on a wool sock, likely because Tesla always looked right at home next to anything that sparked. But let's flip the switch. Before Tesla was matching his mustache wax to the latest AC voltage, light bulb ideas were already sparking in the minds of Humphrey Davy and Joseph Swan, with Thomas Edison hustling to claim the incandescent crown. Edison may have hogged the spotlight, but Tesla's talents danced on different filaments, namely, bringing alternating current to every rebellious bulb in Edison's house. To be fair, if Tesla had invented the light bulb, it'd probably turn on remotely, beam Morse code across town, or send secret messages to Martian pigeons. But his genius glowed elsewhere. And besides, only Edison had the urge to electrocute elephants for a live demo. So let's flip the narrative. Inventing the light bulb was a crowded relay, not a solo act. From Tesla's contributions to electricity to Curie's radioactive discoveries, these myths highlight the boundaries between fact and fiction. Did you hear Marie Curie could read bedtime stories without a lamp? That's the legend. She supposedly glowed so cheerily in the dark. Candles, torches, and extension cords all filed for early retirement. But let's dial up a Geiger counter on this tale. While Curie did cozy up to radium, a substance notorious for making paint and clock dials eerily luminescent, she never quite earned that personal nightlight badge. Radium's radioactivity can make nearby objects and the poor calculators of unlucky lab assistants glow like ghostly disco balls. Indeed, Curie's notebooks and glassware still make Geiger counters click today. But Curie's true radiance? Strictly brain power. She never cut her electric bill by reading by her own radioactive aura. Unfortunately, the radiation left her with anemia, not superpowers. Sure, we love turning brilliant minds into comic book heroes, but Curie's real-life legacy, revolutionizing science and medicine, outshines any spooky glow. Our glowing scientist myths? Just proof we'll always mix a little magic into our molecules. While Curie's glowing myth captures imagination about radiation, Hawking is often mythologized as the smartest person alive. Was Stephen Hawking the ultimate human brainiac, or just science's rock star with a cult following? The public image paints him as Einstein 2.0, this time cruising through cosmos on wheels, armed with a snarky computer wit, casually cracking the universe's biggest riddles. Rumor has it Hawking didn't just decode black holes and time travel, he might also secretly hold the key to where your missing socks disappeared during laundry day. Let's rewind. No Olympian council or pub quiz team ever crowned Hawking genius in chief. His intellect blazed through theory. Sure, but smartest person alive feels more like media magic than a Nobel Committee verdict. Science is no solo gig, even if he rolled solo. It's packed with heavy hitters like Noam Chomsky, Terence Tao, and countless lab wizards who remain tragically unsung. Hawking himself poked holes in his legend, once confessing he wasn't even the sharpest physicist in his own department. So next time someone claims he was mankind's mightiest mind, ask them to define smart without Googling. Because honestly, not even Hawking could explain why your phone's battery plunges from 5% to dead faster than it charges from 95%. If there's a scoreboard for brilliance, maybe it's best saved for trivia night, where everyone's a legend, at least until the music round. Hawking's reputed intellect echoes the pioneering spirit of Galileo dropping balls to demonstrate gravity centuries earlier. Galileo supposedly hauled a handful of cannonballs up the Leaning Tower of Pisa, not for dodgeball practice, but for science. Imagine the legendary astronomer standing atop Italy's most famously tilted tourist trap, dramatically hurling cannonballs and musket balls to a wide-eyed crowd below. In that moment, Galileo was simultaneously inventing modern physics and reality TV, swapping his silver beard for silver screens. Cue the popcorn. Or not. Here's the kicker. There's zero solid proof that Galileo ever performed this tower-top gravity experiment. The legend, while undeniably cinematic and endlessly cartoon-worthy, is really just a testament to how sticky good stories can be. The earliest mentions popped up decades after Galileo shuffled off this mortal coil. Contemporary witnesses? Dead silent. No fainting crowds, no dazed pigeons. In truth, Galileo was all about inclined planes and meticulous measurements. Think Excel spreadsheets rather than fear factor stunts. Sure, dropping balls from a tower scores better headlines than rolling them, but science tends to favor pie charts over high dives. Sorry, thrill seekers. Sometimes the truth is a bit less dramatic than the legend. Galileo's practical experiments complement Feynman's philosophy on the joy found in clear explanations. Think you really get a concept? Try explaining it to your grandma, or a goldfish. If either starts nodding, congrats. You might actually be onto something. Enter Richard Feynman, Nobel laureate and champion of plain talk, famous for saying, "If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough." This gem sparked a myth that Feynman could effortlessly translate mind-bending physics into everyday chit-chat. Spoiler alert, he often couldn't. His struggles were legendary. Sometimes he'd get so tangled in explanations, even Schrödinger's cat would need a flowchart. Feynman's brilliance wasn't about dazzling with on-the-spot simplicity. It was about doing the deep, gritty work to understand something so thoroughly that you could explain it without jargon. If your sentences are crammed with technical twaddle, odds are you're hiding confusion, not genius. Sometimes Feynman nailed it. Imagine jiggling electrons. Other times his metaphors got stuck in cosmic molasses. Feeling brave? Try explaining quantum tunneling to a 5-year-old. Or worse, your tax return to just about anyone. If you pull it off, bravo. If not, maybe all you need is a bigger chalkboard. Feynman's emphasis on simplicity connects to Franklin's famous kite experiment, illustrating electrical concepts. On a stormy night, Benjamin Franklin flew a kite and bam! Invented electricity, right? That's the iconic painting. Franklin, stoic in colonial caprice, clutching a string with a key dangling as lightning crackles overhead. A true American origin story. If inventing electricity were as simple as flying a kite, every bored kid on a blustery day would be an electrical engineer. The myth goes, one crack of thunder, and Franklin single-handedly discovered electricity, lighting up the world and maybe inventing Wi-Fi on the side. But hold on to your tricorn hats. Franklin didn't invent electricity. What he did was prove that lightning and electricity are one and the same. Connecting dots earlier, scientists had only begun to sketch. Europeans had been shocking frogs, and themselves, for years. Franklin just made it fashionable, and a bit more electrifyingly risky. His real contributions? Inventing the lightning rod, coining terms like positive and negative, and advising against wearing metal jewelry during thunderstorms. Franklin's true superpower? Surviving his own experiments and surviving colonial fashion trends. No, he wasn't smitten by Zeus, which is why we still tell the tale. That legendary spark zapped its way into collective memory, electrifying Franklin's reputation and leaving every other scientist scrambling to catch up with his sparks. Franklin's discoveries parallel Newton's dramatic eureka moment in grasping gravity. Newton didn't dash naked through the streets shouting, "Eureka!" Woolsthorpe Manor neighbors, breathe easy. That barefoot, bawling into the air honor goes to Archimedes, whose bathtub aha about water displacement predates Newton's apple by centuries. Legend has it, Archimedes, slippery with suds and inspiration, tore through Syracuse yelling his famous cry, while Newton's own gravity epiphany happened in a far less theatrical, tree-hugging session. Let's clear the air. Newton's gravity breakthrough was pure stiff upper lip Englishness, not ancient Greek street theater. His insights landed not in all-caps shout-outs, but in sleek, brain-melting Latin formulas. Imagine if every scientist celebrated by streaking and shouting. Universities would sound like soccer stadiums, and the dress code? Perpetually casual. So yes, the Newton runs nude yelling Eureka scene makes a great story, but it belongs in fiction's department. When gravity struck Newton, the only thing falling was an apple, not his britches. While Newton's exclamation is well known, Curie's reputation as antisocial contrasts with the public nature of scientific acclaim. Picture Marie Curie as the ultimate science introvert, dodging the limelight like it was radioactive waste. Everyone thinks if you yelled, "Spotlight," she'd duck behind a periodic table. The myth? Curie thrived only in shadows, hunched over beakers in a Paris lab, subsisting on silence, science, and the faint glow of a test tube. Legend has it, Marie was as social as uranium locked in a lead box. But let's split this atom of misconception. Curie didn't just radiate brilliance, she radiated charisma at press conferences too. The facts. She was a professor at the University of Paris, history's first woman in that role, gave public lectures, and even trained battlefield medics during World War I. She championed girls' education, faced the Nobel spotlight twice, and hustled for research funding. Sure, she was reserved, but far from mute. When she spoke, it was thoughtful and powerful. Unlike the elements she discovered, Marie didn't need isolation. She just mastered the art of making her presence count. Curie's reserved demeanor differs from Edison's persistent optimism about failure and experimentation. Ever feel like you've tried every possible way to solve a problem and spectacularly failed at each one? Thomas Edison gets it. The man himself didn't call it failure. He claimed to have discovered 10,000 ways that didn't work. That might be the greatest rebranding of oops in history. Let's bust a myth. Edison didn't just wake up, sip his coffee, and invent the light bulb in a single, radiant aha moment. Nope. The real story is more like a century-long, globe-trotting relay race, packed with rivals and collaborators passing the hot, sometimes literally, filament baton. Edison's real superpower? Relentless tinkering and stealing ideas like a magpie at a jewelry convention. Bamboo, horsehair, carbonized cardboard, all heroic failures, often accompanied by enough singed eyebrows to make OSHA nervous. His 10,000 mishaps weren't serial failures. They were a pyrotechnics show with progress in the spotlight. Remember, sometimes success just means your experiment is the last one standing after 9,999 bow out. If at first you don't succeed, just redefine success. Edison style. Edison's approach to trial and error contrasts with Bohr's philosophical musings on observation and existence. Did Niels Bohr really claim the moon vanishes if you stop peeking at it? Let's shed some light on this cosmic game of hide-and-seek. The popular myth goes that Bohr, the quantum maestro, declared the moon isn't there unless you sneak a look. Spoiler alert, this lunar legend probably grew from Einstein's famous poke at quantum weirdness, his cheeky question about whether the moon truly exists when nobody's watching. Think of it as a cosmic, if a tree falls in the forest, with a few more craters. Fact check time. Bohr never said the moon pulls a disappearing act every time you blink. Sure, he passionately defended quantum mechanics' stranger sides, but he also rejected the idea that reality itself tiptoes on and off stage depending on the audience. This confusion blurs Bohr's actual views, which embrace quantum unpredictability, just not on a planetary scale. If the moon truly needed constant supervision, astronomers would be the universe's busiest babysitters, and NASA would be scheduling missions around nap times. Let's get real. Bohr would probably rather debate beer's wave function than insist the moon is shy. So rest easy. The moon's not going anywhere, quantum quirks or not. Bohr's reflections on quantum uncertainty precede Oppenheimer's haunting words at a pivotal atomic test. Picture a physicist dropping ancient scripture as nuclear fire blooms. Now that's dramatic flair with fission. If any moment screamed for theatrical narration, it's watching your science project outshine 10,000 suns. Everyone knows the iconic Oppenheimer line, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds," allegedly channeled straight from Sanskrit at the Trinity test like an atomic mic drop. The story's perfect. Boom goes the bomb, and Oppenheimer transforms into the Bhagavad Gita's ultimate crossover event. But here's the plot twist. Yes, those words come from Hindu scripture, and yes, Oppenheimer was definitely mulling over the Bhagavad Gita. Did he whisper that epic phrase while the sky turned apocalypse-worthy? Not quite. Eyewitnesses recall a more muted scene. Oppenheimer stunned and silent, more awestruck than poetic, probably thinking, well, that escalated quickly. His famous line? Delivered later, safely backstage in interviews, long after the dust and drama settled. No soundtrack, no dramatic mountaintop monologue. Reality, it seems, doesn't come with a script or a spotlight. Disappointing for history teachers itching for flair. Still, science, spirituality, and legend combined to make his private reflection go nuclear in the public imagination. The real moment? Less cinematic, but no less explosive. Oppenheimer's legacy is complex, just as Rosalind Franklin's Nobel snub reflects the challenges faced by some scientists. Did Rosalind Franklin really get ghosted by the Nobel Prize crew? Some stories paint her as a scientific Cinderella, doomed to spend her final years muttering about lost gold medals and unmet champagne toasts. A genius whose invitation to the biggest night in science supposedly got lost in the X-ray mail. The myth casts her as the brainy gal snubbed by the boys just when the spotlight hit. But reality hits with the cold, clinical precision of an X-ray. Franklin died in 1958, a full 4 years before. Watson, Crick, and Wilkins snagged the Nobel. The committee doesn't hand out awards posthumously. No séance sessions included on the ballot. So she wasn't exactly left off the guest list. She simply wasn't alive to RSVP. Not a sly slight, just cruelly bad timing. That said, sexism did tone down her due credit in her lifetime. The silver lining? Today, Rosalind Franklin's legacy shines brighter than ever, finally getting the recognition her brilliance has long deserved. Franklin's struggle for recognition parallels Galileo's conflicts with flat Earth beliefs of his era. Picture Galileo, armed with a telescope and one heck of an attitude, not dueling flat earthers lurking in shadowy medieval taverns. Forget superstitious mobs fearing they'd roll off the planet like runaway marbles. Those flat earth rants were about as common then as medieval Wi-Fi signals. Thanks to Aristotle and the ancient Greeks, educated minds had accepted Earth's roundness for centuries. No cliff to tumble off, sorry to disappoint. So what was Galileo really up to? He wasn't burning midnight oil debunking pancake planet theories. Instead, he was shaking up the cosmic leaderboard, challenging geocentrism. He boldly claimed Earth was just another modest planet orbiting the Sun. And wait for it, Jupiter sported its own moons. The Church didn't flip out over Earth's shape. They freaked that it got knocked off the celestial throne. Medieval universities had round Earth globes and lectures long before Galileo aimed his lens skyward. His real viral moment? A prehistoric #NotFlat and #ScienceRules campaign, flipping the script and turning the cosmos upside down, not battling imaginary flatness.